Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10. Well, watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks.
I've got a screenshot. Whoa, that was bad. After 15 plus hours of deliberation, the jury in the George W. Melody Farris Walker trial has apparently reached a verdict. We're seeing live from the courtroom right now as the camera is setting up to capture the verdict being read in open court. People will be filing in. The judge will be present as he was away on a prior engagement previously. But after coming in first this morning saying there was no way that these 12 individuals could find consensus, they now, after spending a couple more hours together in deliberation, have found that consensus. And now the question just remains, who flipped? Who flipped? Because this morning they said there was no way they could reach this. So somebody has changed their mind or had their mind changed. This is definitely one of those cases where you will hear when the judge says, would you like the jury polled? The answer will be yes, because they want to know each person truly stands by this new verdict, especially because they said they couldn't agree previously. So, Melody Farris is accused of killing her husband, shooting him, and then burning his body on the burn pile behind their home in Georgia. It's a beautiful home that hides a dark secret. The state, in their testimony, didn't have all the answers, didn't know exactly how it happened, and there are some gaps, there are some holes. And they've said that apparently we might never know. But they feel that what they did present was enough to tell the jury that they could confidently vote to convict Melody of killing her husband. This trial, we've heard evidence from many different witnesses, including two boyfriends of Melody Farris, family who is divided on both sides and split and will perpetually be so going forward, as well as countless law enforcement investigators and friends of the family. We're hearing that the verdict will be coming in at 3:45, meaning we have just 40 minutes, or 3:20. It depends on who we believe. 3:20 would be 15 minutes. That's very quick. We got verdict music, and it worked. That was amazing. That's amazing. KS, stay safe there in Oklahoma. Treehouse murder will be retried. I think it's either the end of the year, like at the very end, or the beginning of next year. Hung before lunch and now a verdict. That just means that the judge's admonition worked. They shook it up. 3:20 appears to be, so we've got 15 minutes. They're saying verdict. Verdict means not hung. Hung is not a verdict. Hung is a mistrial. Verdict is a consensus. So they're saying that we do have a verdict in this trial. Hey.
Oh my goodness.
And then it exploded. How are you doing, Mrs. R.A.? I'd be better if everything was working, but you know, we've got the minimum working right now. Maybe it's 4:20 and the person who said 3:20 didn't set their clock right. Not hung. I'm nervous. It'll be interesting. I don't know. 15, 16 hours roughly of deliberation over 4 days. They had the weekend to think it over. They came in Monday, said they could not agree. They would not be able to find a consensus. Judge said, oh, just you try harder and see. And they did. Poll time. Okay, this is going to be a different poll. This is going to be, how do you think the verdict, or how do you think the jury voted? Not how you, so this is not how you personally feel about the case. This is going to be, how do you think the jury feels about the case? And because we have a verdict, there are only going to be two options. It's going to be guilty or not guilty. We realize there are like 6 charges on this, but a lot of these charges, if she's guilty of one, she would be logically guilty of the others. Say, for instance, if she's guilty of malice murder, she's probably also guilty of burning the body and lying to police. So we're just going to group everything to one big category, although it can and may come back as a mixed verdict. How do you think the jury voted? By tradition, not guilty always comes first. I think I spelled those right. The poll is up. There are your 2 options. How do you think the jury voted? Guilty or not guilty, or guilty? First vote to come in was a not guilty. Someone was very quick to hit that one. I feel like it could be lesser charge since they could not agree on the top charge. I think I need to see the jury, says Craig. We have a verdict. Yes, we do. We're waiting. We're waiting for the judge to come in and the jury to come in, and that's it. We've got possibly 15 minutes. Deserve the rest of the day. If I get the rest of the day off, Rick, I'll be pulling cables, and I mean, I was updating firmware over lunch. I'll just be doing more of the same. I'm just trying to rebuild things and make it look like it should. Like, for instance, my picture here. Needs to be a little more square. Needs to have a border, which is not working. Or I just can't see it, one of the two. Shaylin says, that was me first to vote. What do I win? Well, hopefully you win the verdict vote and it goes your way. Can you do a poll on top of the top charge or lesser charges? We can. We've got enough time. We'll give it some time for this one to play out a little bit. Can you go over her charges again? I would say yes normally, but I'm like literally flying by the seat of my pants with less than half the assets plugged in that I normally have. And so anything I change and work on is basically live on the stream. And I don't want to break anything today. It's barely working right now. I think they found her guilty, but only to go home, says Kathy. Oh, man. Malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault. I thought there was something about just destruction of evidence or something with the body and lying to police. It was 5 or 6 charges. No lessers. Nikki, I can do that. I'm just saying that the systems that are running, we've had major problems with them today, and I hesitate to put any more load on them until I can figure out what the problem was. Let's see. Oh. Amber, can we confirm this? There's some juicy tidbits floating around there that if we can confirm, it'd be awesome. KRH, what's going on with your equipment? This one died on me today. It was already broken, but I had cobbled it together so it would still function mostly. By we I mean you, got me a new one, which is the upgraded one. Instead of having HDMI inputs right here, it has SDI inputs, and instead of only having 2 outputs, it has 4. So I was planning on making that switch, and today we had to suddenly make the switch because the old one died. It crashed really hard. Internet went down, buffering for long periods of time. It no longer outputs audio, so I cannot hear what's happening, things like that. So I had to rapidly just rebuild my whole studio and redo all the networking over lunch. So I still have 4 more sources to tie in. Wonder what family members will be there. That's probably why there's a delay. Someone's wrestling with the camera. It's probably people walking in and bumping the tripod as they try to get positioned. This should be probably a packed courthouse for reading the verdict. We've got conflicting comments about when it's going to be read. We've got some that say it'll be read in half an hour, some that's going to be read in 5 minutes. Half an hour sounds more reasonable, especially if the announcement just came out. Usually the judge likes to give both sides a little bit of time, give the family some time to show up so they can be present. This is a moment that a lot of the family have waited for a long time, and they don't want to miss it. I mean, some of them might wish they could miss it, but feel obligated they should be there. They're looking for justice for Gary, and they want to be there if it's being meted out. Unfortunately, they don't know what the result will be until it happens. Weezer, thank you very much for more new equipment. Thank you. I'm going to be buying some. I've got 4 of the 8 that I need. They're HDMI to SDI bidirectional Blackmagic design converters, which means I can incorporate all the devices that only have HDMI out, like computers, and also output the SDI into HDMI like TVs. So, is there a verdict? Yes, Katia, you missed the verdict music. It was beautiful. We'll see if she wears her pearls today. I don't remember if she was wearing them this morning when the jury came in. Judge should say verdict would be read about 30 to 40 minutes after the jury decides. Court TV says 3:20. Court TV is the pool media source, and I have to give a big shout out to Court TV. Court TV was huge and participated in Ian's fundraiser as well, even donating items to be auctioned off. That is really neat to see them, supporting people that arguably are competitors for their own channel, but they understand the value that it brings to the whole community. And it's wonderful to see that. So big shout out, thank you to Court TV for that. Hey, little Laurie. Play the music, go over the charges. Okay, I'm going to pull up the charges and okay. Malice murder, felony murder. Let's see. Looking for the breakdown here. Okay. Malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing the death of another, and making a false statement in the death of her husband. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 charges. Her husband was a prominent attorney. I think he dealt in like bankruptcy issues, but made a ton of money and worked a ton of hours to make that money. The family spent a ton of money, pretty much as fast as he could earn it, and it was so bad that when he passed away, because there was a delay. Obviously, there was a delay between any death benefits, like life insurance and things like that, being paid out. Because there was that delay, they lost the farm almost immediately. That they could not make payments because all the money was tied up in this process of trying to sort out where it goes. So they lost the farm. It was auctioned off, and it's now under new ownership. Corporate real estate. I think he did bankruptcies as well. Update is later this hour. That's because it's 1 minute away and I don't see any action yet in the court. Felony murder is he died after he shot him. Malice murder is the premeditation. So nervous I'm wearing my pearls. Phil. That's awesome. Phil, if you missed it, I've got a recording we're about to. I'll post a clean feed on my channel of most of a lawyer's disciplinary hearing in Pennsylvania in front of a Supreme Court panel, and it's epic. The lawyer says such things as never speak to your clients. The only thing I did wrong was follow the rules. Great stuff. Can we just sentence me and get this over with? I think he said 2 to 3 he was unavailable KDH. So I think he's back here. Yes, Runkle of the Baileys, the channel we're talking about. Ian, he just texted me right at lunchtime. So he's awake after doing that 24-hour live stream Friday, Saturday. It was a long one. Life insurance was about $4.15, I think $4.15 million are tied up here, which if she's acquitted, the money will go to her. If she's found guilty, I think it'll pass down to her kids. And by her kids, that'll be interesting because some of them, 3 of them are basically saying my mom's guilty, and one of them is saying I'm not sure. She might have done it, but the state needs to prove it. And that last one seems to be on her mom's side a little bit. We'll go to the estate, but the estate passes to the kids. The entire family's broken. They are. And that was sad. Especially listening to Amanda. The parts, I think Amanda may not have been 100% truthful, like in everything she said. But when she described that she just wanted a family that didn't have drama and secrets and all this, that seemed very, very true. But as the youngest in the family, she's like, my family's just been terrible on the inside and looking good on the outside. I believe her. The kids can sue, and they will. Myself, what I noticed throughout this trial was that with Scott, with Chris, is it Emily and Amanda, all of them just talked, and all of them basically threw other people under the bus in one way or another. It was pretty wild. All the money will end up wrapped in attorney's fees. Well, Bravo Chick, I'm not sure. We might be really close. We switched to the exit view. I'm not sure how much they'll get. I mean, Melody might owe. Got crowded under the bus. At one point, everyone was under the bus. A lot of reasonable doubt. For me, that reasonable doubt does not include Scott and Chris for me in any way. Originally, it did. Oh, there we go. Have some action. Yes, the verdict is in. You arrived just in time. We're waiting for everyone to show up in court. Looking to see if they will show us a little bit of what's going on in the background. Pearl necklace is gone. Pearl earrings still there. She's worn those throughout the trial. If she's guilty, can they take her attorney fees out of the life insurance? That doesn't seem right to me. It depends. It depends if it's ruled that she doesn't get that life insurance. I read this and I hear the voice of like Shakespeare in my head, Kurt. Is this a line that I should know? Where's that from? Guilty or not guilty, past convictions frustrate. The judge who wonder, should you fate abate? Most Allen charge results in guilty. That's the point of deliberations. I don't think officially it was an Allen charge. It was just you haven't deliberated long enough. Go back and try again. It's from the West Wing. Okay. I need to get a TV so I can watch those. Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Check, check. I don't know why it sounds so loud in my ears. Is that any better? All right. Not seen family there yet. The family would be on the other side. Mr. Ray is standing, wearing a black tie. Can't see if Amanda or Emily is there. Hold tight for me just for a minute. Let me make sure I've got all the settings right. And they are. More news media coming in. People wearing coats. It must be chilly down there. Why are they standing for the jury now? I wonder if they're going to make her stand for the verdict to be read. None behind her. It's a weird situation. States handle this differently. You look at Sarah Boone, who arguably is... Yeah, that's not good. Who arguably is not a threat, right? Not an active threat. The person she was a threat to is gone. And she's belly chains, cuffs. They're talking. It was at one point there was a talk about a shock collar, and then you look at Brian Koberger, who, according to the state, murdered 4 people in cold blood with a knife. And you would think that there would be a risk there with him, and he just walks in a suit like he owns the place. But every state does it differently. Sarah Boone was in custody. So was Koberger. I realize Melody's been out on bond. Guess it depends on the attorney, the judge, a little bit the sheriffs. Thanks, Amber. I see that. A few more bailiffs present now. Who's the lady in the back who has to carry all those boxes? Just for the record, Mr. Ray, if you'd like to come on the program, we'd love to arrange something after the fact. Nikki, what we're hearing, the rumors, we're waiting for confirmation. It's a different case. We've heard some rumors on a different case that are sort of spicy. We're going to end the poll because it's still going right now. So give me just 1 second to get that. Looks like 2/3 saying guilty. That's how they think the jury's going to vote. With 1,800 votes in. Mr. A hates you. He's not a big fan of me, but I don't think he hates me personally. And I'd be happy to talk to him. I've talked to other people who I disagree with, and we can have respectful conversations, and I'd like to hear his vantage point, his opinion on that. Mike's really noisy today. More and more bailiffs arriving. Who's the guy sitting right behind Melody? I haven't seen him in trial before, at least not this one. See if they'll show us the other side of the room, see if we've got family present. Deliberation was approximately 15, 16 hours, somewhere in that range. It's a little hard to tell because the jury took lunch at different times. We don't know if they deliberated through it or not. But that was spaced over 4 days. The rumors already appeared in chat a little bit, but it hasn't been confirmed, so we weren't going to announce anything. It's just a rumor. And there have been plenty of rumors that have not, developed. Christy, I think guilty. The reason why I think they're going to come back with guilty is the evidence they initially requested to hear was some of the most damning evidence in the case. It was in Melody's own words, her voice, her saying things that was like, oh, that's guilty knowledge, something like that. That to me seems like the majority of the jurors believed that she was guilty and said, here, this is why. All you have to do is listen to this and you'll know she's guilty. And they listened to those pieces again. So I think that they were trying to convince one or two holdouts of her guilt. Because of that, I don't think the two holdouts were able to convince all the rest. I'm just speculating here on the number, but I don't think the holdouts were able to convince the others. If they were more on the not guilty side, for me, this is just how I'm trying to read the tea leaves, I would say we would have heard other evidence. We would have heard more about speculation or more about, the reasonable doubt areas that would make you think, like, that doesn't match up. There is a conflict there. I think that would have been the focus. Uncivil law, Kurt. No, we're not doing election coverage. That would be terrible for me. It would be terrible. So I think the jury, also in line with how our internal polling has gone, the majority has come in on the guilty side. Even from the early days, like our first poll early in trial, we were nearly 50-50 split. I think we were about 56% guilty on our first poll, and it just grew over time as we heard more evidence. The jury has reached a verdict. It's about to be read in court. We're just waiting for the judge and the jury to come in. Ivan, Ivan says, if you do election coverage, I'm unsubscribing. We're not doing election coverage, period. I drove by, like Sunday morning, I drove by a location where one of the presidential candidates was. Sunday afternoon, I was talking to the guy who owned the hangar where one of the big rallies was held. And he's talking to me about the Secret Service going through his office and checking to make sure there's no weapons or anything there. No, we're not covering elections. But I will tell you this. On the way back, as I'm driving back and I passed that place, driving back home, I passed a cemetery. No joke. This is not a dad joke. I passed a cemetery and saw something I'd never seen before. Out in front of the cemetery, big old sign that's like, sale, burial plots, half off. I'm like, I thought, and when I saw that, first of all, I'd never seen it. And I thought the same thing you were thinking. It's like, I'm going to need one of those. But then I also thought, I think they could do better. They could do better on their advertising, right? They could say, great view, quiet neighbors, free lawn care included for life or death. There could be other things you could advertise instead of just burial plot half off. And then I also started thinking, what if it was, what if it's a used plot? Previous owner vacated, New opportunity, slight flood damage. There are other things. Why are they on sale? Anyway, it's not a joke. Not a joke. I saw a sign. I was going to stop and take a picture, but half off. Are there bad plots? There are good plots and bad plots. There you go. I successfully changed the subject from politics to death. All right. Looks like the courtroom is becoming more and more crowded. We are expecting the family to be present for this. They have been present at previous times when the jury had questions. They came in. They have been probably sitting by locally waiting for this to come in, and will be rushing to the courthouse. The judge said he'd have about 30 to 45 minutes between when the jury makes a decision and they actually announce it in court. And we're approaching that time rapidly. It was Kinston is where I saw the sign. Kinston for the cemetery. Looking like 4 minutes away from the verdict. You can share my burial plot over my dead body. Here we go. Now she stands. Now she stands for the first time in a long time, meaning the whole trial. She's remained seated when the jury comes in. Seated. Oh, she stood for the judge. And she'll remain standing now. Nope.
All right, I understand we have a verdict. I know we have lots of folks that are interested in the outcome of this case here. I've also heard at least 6 Amber Alerts while I was in the back buzzing in here. So if that happens, I'll just ignore it and pretend I didn't hear it. I want everyone to just understand that the jury's been working diligently on this case for the last 4 weeks of trial and for the last several days of deliberation. I don't want any outbursts one way or the other. If you don't think you'll be able to restrain yourself one way or the other, then you need to step out. All right, anything else we need to take up before we bring the jurors in? All right, we have our 2 alternates. All right, go ahead and bring them. Well, we have 4, but only two are coming.
The alternates in this case requested to be brought back in for the verdict. They were vested in this case, wanted to see how it ended, and the judge did oblige, and they are back. The judge said he heard Amber Alerts going off. An Amber Alert will ring on everybody's phone in the area. It's like a push alert, and oftentimes it will ring through a silence. Like if you silence your phone, it still might do an Amber Alert sound. So the judge announcing that was just basically saying it might happen, and I won't like kick you out because an Amber Alert went off if your phone forces it to make noise. I get Amber Alerts in Mod Chat. I do. Okay, we'll see. She stood for the judge. I don't think she will be standing for the jury. Everyone else is standing. The reason she gave, or the reason her lawyer gave for why she doesn't stand for the jury, is because she has a jury of her peers, which means she is equal with the jury, and she's not going to show them any respect. He said it in closing. It was, I would have risked fudging the truth and saying she has an injury before I went that far and said, we're not going to show you respect because you're our equals. Is she out on bail? Yes, she is. She has been, I think she was only in jail for a couple months, and then she's been out for the remainder of the time. She stands up, breaks. Oh, she walks out during lunch. I mean, she's free. She goes home, gets in her car, and drives off. Andrea, this is probably exhausting to be in trial, especially for a defendant.
All right, I understand y'all reached a verdict.
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it signed by you as foreman?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, if you'll hand it to the bailiff, and then I'll review it, and then I'll hand it back to you. All right. You'll hand that back to the foreman. All right, sir, as foreman, I'm going to have you stand and publish your verdict. You can do that just by saying, "We, the jury," and then to each count, say, "We find the defendant guilty or not guilty," as to each count.
All right. We, the jury, as to the count of count 5, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 4, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 3, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 2, find the defendant guilty. And we, the jury, as to count 1, find the defendant guilty.
All right,
Across the board.
Bailiff. Madam Bailiff, you can show it to counsel. All right, anything y'all want to take up?
No. Oh, we would ask you to fold it.
There's the polling.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the defense has asked that you be polled. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to run through each one of you. If you still remember your original jury number, if you don't, we'll give you some prompting. But if you'll stand up, we will then I'll ask you a series of questions, and then I'll move to the next juror. After you see me do it twice, you'll understand what we're doing. All right, so Mr. Bailiff, Mr. Clerk, if you'll call the juror.
Number 3.
All right, ma'am, is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, sir.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
4
All right,
questions.
be seated.
Wow.
Number 7.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, next.
Number 14.
All right, ma'am, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, it was.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes.
All right, you may be seated.
Number 28.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Number 40.
That's me.
All right. Sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is that still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
He has gone to 3 questions.
41.
Ma'am, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes.
All right, next.
Number 48.
All right, ma'am, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can be seated.
Number 50.
All right, ma'am, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, sir.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
All right, next.
Number 60.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can be seated.
Number 65.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can be seated.
Number 71.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, sir.
And is that still your verdict?
Yes, sir. Number 79.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes,
And is it still your verdict?
it is.
All right, you may be seated. That's all of our jurors. All right, anything else? All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that ends your service in this case. I want to thank you for your service. You are now free to go about your day and your lives and look up anything you want to about the case, talk to anyone about the case, or not, as you choose. That is completely up to you and how you want to handle that. There are the media folks have reached out and want to talk to you. The way we're going to do that is I have some packets of information from them that I'm going to give you in just a moment. Before y'all leave the area, you are free to stay and talk to anyone you want to. You are also free to leave and not talk to anyone. There are many folks that would like to have an opportunity to talk to you. Again, that is completely up to you. And whether you want to talk to the lawyers, any of the family members, or the media is completely up to you. And they will make themselves available, I'm certain. I'm sure the media folks will be out the front door. If you want to talk to them, I'm going to direct them not to bother you if you want to go out the back door and go to your car and leave the premises. All right, so with that, y'all can be excused to the jury room.
This case was unique in that we were mentioned.
The alternates, y'all can step out. I'm going to give y'all that same information. So if y'all step out with the bailiff, y'all can come through. They're going to want you to walk around.
We were actually mentioned in court because as we were doing commentary during this trial, I made a comment and didn't know that Martha Jane was listening.
Y'all want to schedule sentencing?
Judge,
So it became an exhibit.
schedule it for sooner rather than later
All right.
due to the bill.
Well, let them step out.
Yeah.
We can shoot for the first week of December, second week of December. I'll talk with Tracy. I have jury trials scheduled the week before Thanksgiving. We might can do, I know I have a conference the first full week of December, so second week. So we will reach out to y'all and have a scheduling conference on when the best time to do sentencing would be. We'll try to get that scheduled for you. All right. But ma'am, you will be remanded into custody after you've been convicted. Your bond is deemed insufficient at this time. You'll be taken into custody to await sentencing. All right. All right. Y'all can take her in the back. If y'all need a chance to talk to her, y'all keep her here for a little bit so that the attorneys can talk to her if they need to.
So she's no longer free. Her bond deemed insufficient. She's going to be placed back in custody, will remain so until sentencing. The time she serves now up until sentencing will most likely be credited towards her sentence if it is less than life. So that would be reduced. And with that, she's out of the
Anything
courtroom.
else? All right, we'll be in recess. Thank you.
So this was a case where we were mentioned by the attorneys. We were mentioned by the judge. we were called out. Yes, Attorney Michael Ray talked about our channel because during the trial, when Rusty was testifying, was on the stand, he was testifying about Martha Jane and about the firearms she owned, and he almost got stepped on. If we go back and listen to it, the attorney asking the questions, the prosecutor asking the questions, almost interrupted his answer when he was saying that Martha Jane owned a .38. And at that time, I said, I think I know what the attorneys are doing, where they're going with this. I think they're going to say that Melody stole the .38 from Martha Jane. It was just an idea. It was just something that occurred to me as they were sort of laying out the evidence where I thought they were headed. It turns out they were not headed that direction, but Martha Jane was listening to our live stream. I did not know that either. She had been following along in court, even though she was a named witness or a possible witness. She had not been subpoenaed and had not been directed not to watch anything on the court. Well, when I had called her out by name on the live stream inadvertently, she realized that what she had feared for years was true, and she needed to say something because she knew that 5 years ago her .38 special revolver had been stolen. That's the caliber of gun that was used in this murder. And Melody knew where it was in her house. And so she called the detective and told him what happened. And then the detective put her on the witness list and brought her in a couple days later, and she testified. Under cross-examination, Mr. Ray was pointed out that I said it first. This little man in the corner with the headphones, as he described me on court TV, even though I was not on court TV, had said first, and then she got the idea to call, trying to discredit her testimony that it was instead an idea that came from me, which it apparently wasn't. Martha Jane was probably one of the most credible witnesses we heard in this trial. A sweet lady who whose character can be described in a little story she told earlier, or that same day in her testimony, where she said when she first met her husband, he was at a dance with another girl, and he wanted to like talk with her and flirt with her, and she wouldn't even do that because that was not right. He had come with a different woman, and she was just a proper Southern lady, and she felt the need after hearing that in court to call in. But Mr. Ray mentioned it. The judge mentioned this as well, because we were at one time counting the number of times that he says or or pause, had mental buffers, and he called us out a little bit on that one, so I owed him an apology. Anyway, I'm exhibit, I think it's Barton 1A. I would love it if anyone is down there in Georgia and has access to get a copy of that evidence from court once the file is available and open to the public to be able to access. If somebody could get me a copy of that evidence, that would be appreciated, just from just a personal note. All right, we have had a absolutely wild day here because we've had major tech issues. We changed out our whole studio during lunch. From one switcher to another. The old switcher is bad. The new switcher is in. We did it all on lunch, trying to get everything working. We have a new camera arriving on Wednesday, which works with this one. I've got a lot of work to do. Normally we have all sorts of pictures and court we're able to jump to, but with all the cobbling together, we're flying by the seat of our pants today. Normally it's a little better. We're going to try to do better tomorrow and have a little more. I'm going to put together what was one of the spiciest lawyer disciplinary hearings I've ever heard of that happened this morning in Pennsylvania. We caught most of it on recording. The recording has since been deleted by Pennsylvania. They don't keep them up, so we have most of it on recording, and I'm going to switch it.
So help you God.
Sorry, don't need that. I'm going to switch it to. I'm going to send it up to a couple people, maybe Kurt, maybe Rob, maybe Ian, to see if they want to comment on it, because it will blow your mind what this lawyer said as he was being questioned about possibly misusing or misplacing, inappropriately transferring a client's money. And it is wild. It is wild. The lawyer at one point, his recommendation, if he could go back and do things better, he says, my suggestion would be don't talk to your clients. And my only mistake was following the rules. It was crazy. Law Talk with Mike, he might want that as well. I might send that to him. I don't have his direct connection. If somebody has a connection with maybe one of his mods or something, if they could reach out to me, that would be great. I'd like to hear some lawyers weigh in on that little hearing. So with that, we're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to go to work rebuilding my studio some more. What were the rumors? There's rumors in the Karen Reed case involving Proctor. But right now it's just rumors. There was an investigation into him. They're saying his employment status might have changed effective today, but we haven't got confirmation yet, so we'll wait for that. Please auction off your old switcher for Runkle. I wouldn't want to sell this to somebody if it doesn't work, and it didn't work today. So it might be a good cricket bat, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning. We will have a new case we're going to be following. I'll be putting that together tonight. Please join us. If you're here for the first time, click the subscribe button, ring the bell. We'd love to have you join us. It is a lot of fun every day. We follow true crime full time, and we'd like you to become one of us. Just know that once you join, you can never leave because your family, you won't want to. So. All right, that being said, have yourselves a great one. I'm going to go cry in the corner a little bit, and then I'm going to go to work on this equipment. I'm about ready to pull my hair out with some of this stuff. It's wild. You guys, be good to each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
For calling Metronet.
I completely hit the wrong button and just killed the music. So we're just going to say have a good night. We'll see you.
Have them send someone with more experience.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
Because he